Good evening. Tonight, let's ask, who really controls the world? Is it governments, megacorporations, or secret societies? The answer shapes how we see everything, who we trust, who we fear. So, let's take a peek behind the curtain and try to find the rule book. Why are we so obsessed with who controls the world? Our brains crave patterns and simple stories, especially in a chaotic world. Conspiracy theories offer comfort, a villain to blame, a reason for our struggles. But real power is complex. To understand it, we must separate fact from fantasy and start untangling the truth. Governments look powerful, writing laws, collecting taxes, commanding armies, and shaping global events. But no single government truly controls the world. Each nation fiercely guards its own interests, forming alliances and rivalries. The world stage is a chaotic dance of negotiation and compromise. Governments hold a big piece of the puzzle, but never the whole thing. Let's talk about the real power players, multinational corporations. Their influence isn't about laws or armies, it's about money. With revenues bigger than many countries, they shape economies, sway governments, and move wherever rules suit them best. In this game, corporations often hold the most powerful cards. Governments and corporations shape our world, but international organizations like the UN, IMF, WTO, and World Bank set the rules. They promote stability, manage crises, and influence global policy. But their power is debated. Wealthy nations often have the most say. They're not world rulers, but they're key players in the global game. Governments, corporations, and international organizations are all part of a single, deeply interconnected system. Real power lies not with any one player, but in the web of relationships binding them together. It's a messy network of dependencies, alliances, and rivalries. So when we ask who controls the world, the answer is the system itself. Forget the messy web of governments and corporations. Some say it's all a smokescreen. Behind the chaos, a handful of powerful families pull the strings. The theory? It's not about systems, but bloodlines. Names like Rothschild, Rockefeller, and Windsor. Dynasties passing power in secret, shaping history from the shadows. So let's put on our tinfoil hats and take a closer look. If you want a conspiracy theory about a family controlling the world, the Rothschilds are the ultimate origin story. Meyer Amschel Rothschild started in Frankfurt, sending his 5 sons across Europe to build a revolutionary banking network. Their secret communications and financial genius made them legendary. The Rothschilds became symbols of hidden power, fueling conspiracy theories that still echo today. If the Rothschilds represent Old World European money and finance, the Rockefellers represent New World American industrial might. Their story is, honestly, the ultimate American dream turned into a conspiracy theorist's nightmare. It starts with one man, John D. Rockefeller. He was a bookkeeper from Ohio who, in the late 19th century, saw the future. And that future was black, sticky, and smelled a bit funny. It was oil. Through his company, Standard Oil, Rockefeller didn't just get into the oil business, he consumed it. He used ruthless tactics to buy out his competitors, control the refineries, and dominate the transportation of oil. By the 1880s, Standard Oil controlled about 90% of America's oil. This monopoly gave Rockefeller power on a scale the world had never seen from a single businessman. He could set the price of the most important commodity of the industrial age. He became the world's first billionaire, and his wealth was so immense it's hard to even comprehend. But the story doesn't end with his business. The conspiracy theories really take off with what the family did next. Faced with antitrust laws that broke up Standard Oil, the Rockefellers shifted their focus to philanthropy. They created powerful foundations like the Rockefeller Foundation that poured billions into medicine, education, and science all over the world. A generous act, right? Well, not according to everyone. To a conspiracy theorist, this philanthropy is not charity. It's a tool for control. They argue that by funding universities and medical schools, the Rockefellers got to dictate what was taught. They shaped modern medicine to favor pharmaceutical solutions over natural ones, creating a profitable new industry they could dominate. They argue that by funding international organizations like the Council on Foreign Relations and the Bilderberg Group, they created the very forums where the global elite could meet in secret to coordinate their plans for a new world order. The family's generosity is seen as a clever, long-term investment in social engineering. The Rockefeller name is therefore linked to almost every major conspiracy theory of the last century. From manipulating the medical industry to pushing for a one-world government, they are seen as the American branch of the global shadow elite. Figures like David Rockefeller, John D.'s grandson, who was a prominent banker and statesman, are viewed as the masterminds who carried the family's plan for global domination into the modern era. In this narrative, the family's vast wealth, built on oil, was simply the seed capital for a much grander project to quietly and patiently take control of the institutions that shape our society and our minds. Beyond the Rothschilds and Rockefellers, the Morgans, DuPonts, and Windsors are seen as key players in the shadow government. The Morgans wielded financial power, the DuPonts profited from war and industry, and the Windsors symbolize old-world aristocracy. Together, they're believed to shape global events from behind the scenes. All right, let's take a brief pause. Let's remove our tinfoil hats, let them air out for a moment, and step back into the bright, sometimes disappointing light of reality. The stories we've just discussed are fantastic. They are epic tales of power, secrecy, and multi-generational plots to rule the world. They are, frankly, much more exciting than the minutes of a World Trade Organization subcommittee meeting on fishing subsidies. But here's the thing about a story that sounds too good or too terrifying to be true. It usually is. The truth about these legendary families is, like most things in life, a lot more complicated and a little less cinematic than the conspiracies suggest. The first major point to understand is the difference between wealth and absolute power. These families, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and the others, were, and in some cases still are, phenomenally wealthy. They absolutely wielded immense influence during their peak. John D. Rockefeller's control over the oil industry was real. The Rothschilds' power over 19th century European finance was legendary for a reason. They were giants of their time, but the world has changed dramatically since their heyday. The global economy is now infinitely more complex, diverse, and regulated than it was in 1880 or 1910. A monopoly that was possible then is virtually impossible now on a global scale. Think about the sheer scale of the modern world. The global economy is worth over $100 trillion. There are thousands of multinational corporations, hundreds of powerful investment funds, and dozens of governments with trillion-dollar economies. The idea that a single family, or even a small group of families, could secretly control all of this is logistically absurd. It would require a level of coordination, secrecy, and flawless multi-generational planning that makes staging the Olympics look like organizing a child's birthday party. And as anyone who has ever been part of a family group chat knows, getting 5 relatives to agree on a place for dinner is hard enough, let alone a century-long plan for global domination. The truth is, while these families were once at the very top of the pyramid has grown exponentially larger and more crowded. Their wealth, while still significant, is now a smaller drop in a much, much larger ocean. New billionaires are minted every year in tech, finance, and manufacturing, from Silicon Valley to Shenzhen. Power has become more diffuse, spread across a wider array of corporations, nations, and influential individuals who are all competing with each other. The idea of a small, static group of families maintaining unbroken control over this chaotic system for centuries is, to put it mildly, a bit of a stretch. The Rothschilds and Rockefellers were once titans of finance, but their fortunes have been divided and their power diluted over generations. Today they run respected but not dominant financial businesses. Their influence is real, but they are not secret rulers of the world. Much of their legacy is philanthropy, not conspiracy. World domination. Let's look at the Morgans and DuPonts. JP Morgan once bailed out the US economy, but today JP Morgan Chase is a public company, regulated and owned by millions. The DuPonts built a chemical empire with real military ties, but their company is now public, shaped by markets and regulations. Corporate power is real and worth debating, but it's not secret dynasties ruling the world. If the evidence for these grand conspiracies is so thin, why are they so incredibly popular? Why do these stories about the Rothschilds and Rockefellers persist, passed around online forums and in late-night conversations? The answer has less to do with the families themselves and more to do with us. As we touched on earlier, these stories provide simple answers to very complex and frightening questions. It's much easier to be angry at David Rockefeller than it is to be angry at the abstract forces of global capital, neoliberal policy, and systemic inequality. The families become a face for a faceless system. These myths also persist because they contain a kernel of truth, which makes them much more believable. The Rothschilds were, without a doubt, incredibly powerful bankers. The Rockefellers did have a massive monopoly. JP Morgan did bail out the government. Conspiracy theories work best when they take a real historical event and stretch it into a vast, sinister plot. They build a mountain of speculation on top of a molehill of fact. This technique makes it difficult to debunk them completely because any attempt to point out the flaws can be dismissed by pointing back to that original, undeniable kernel of truth. Furthermore, many of these theories, especially those concerning banking families like the Rothschilds, have a dark and disturbing history. For centuries, conspiracy theories targeting the Rothschild family have been intertwined with anti-Semitism. They tap into old, ugly stereotypes about Jewish people and their supposed control over global finance. These narratives were used by hate groups and regimes, including the Nazis, to justify persecution. It's crucial to recognize that while some people might be drawn to these theories out of a genuine feeling of powerlessness, the narratives themselves can be vehicles for prejudice and hate. Ultimately, these legends endure because they offer a sense of order in a chaotic world. They replace the unsettling randomness of history with a clear, deliberate plan. The world is a complex and often unfair place. The gap between the rich and the poor is growing. It often feels like the system is rigged in favor of the powerful, and in many ways it is. But the rigging isn't the work of 5 families in a secret room. It's the result of policies, laws, and economic systems that have been built over decades. Blaming the families is easy. Understanding the system is hard. But it's only by understanding the real messy system that we have any hope of actually changing it. Today, power isn't just about industry or finance. Big tech, Google, Amazon, Meta, Apple, shapes our digital world, collecting and monetizing our data. Their influence is woven into our daily lives, guiding what we see, buy, and believe. The real question now, who controls the code and our attention? Let's take a leap into the future. What if the next global power isn't human at all? We're building AI that can learn, reason, and create in ways we're only starting to grasp. This isn't science fiction. AI already manages portfolios, diagnoses diseases, and writes code. But what happens when AI surpasses us? When our tools become more powerful than their creators? The rise of superintelligent AI could rewrite the rules of power, making us passengers in our own world. The real danger: AI's goals might not align with human values, leading to catastrophic outcomes. The alignment problem is urgent. How do we ensure AI acts in our best interests? In the race for breakthroughs, safety is often an afterthought, risking irreversible consequences. The future of power may not be about nations or corporations, but about our relationship with the intelligence we create. The choices made in AI labs today could shape who or what controls the world tomorrow. While we debate AI and tech giants, the world's old power structures are shifting fast. The era of a single superpower is over. We're entering a multipolar world with new players like China, India, and regional blocs demanding influence. Power is fragmenting, making global cooperation harder just as we face existential threats. Climate change, pandemics, and technological risks don't care about borders or politics. Our inability to unite exposes the limits of governments and corporations alike. The real power may lie with those who can solve these global crises. We could see new alliances or governance forms focused on survival, or descend into conflict and chaos. The real question isn't who controls the world, but can anyone control it at all? The greatest threat may be that our problems have outgrown our ability to manage them. Now, let's talk about the ultimate deadline, the end of the world as we know it. Scientists use the doomsday clock to symbolize how close we are to catastrophe. Currently, it's at 90 seconds to midnight. The main threats? Nuclear war, climate change, and now, disruptive technologies like AI and bioengineering. Nuclear weapons remain a hair trigger away from disaster, a threat that never truly disappeared. Climate change is a slow-motion apocalypse, rising seas, superstorms, and mass migrations. Our political and economic systems seem unable to respond at the necessary scale. New technologies add unpredictable risks, accelerating our path to midnight. The doomsday clock isn't about prophecy. It's a warning from those who study real man-made dangers. The clock's message: we're closer than ever to a self-inflicted end. Whether by war, climate, or runaway tech, the risks are real and growing. The question is, will we act before time runs out? Beyond science, every culture has its own dramatic vision of the end. Apocalyptic prophecies, divine judgment, cosmic battles. These stories offer meaning and purpose to the end, unlike the cold randomness of scientific catastrophe. Religious apocalypses promise a final reckoning, a moral conclusion to history. Scientific predictions, by contrast, are warnings. If we keep making the same mistakes, disaster is likely. One view says the end is inevitable, the other says it's preventable. Prophecies have a poor track record, but scientific warnings are based on real trends. No one knows the exact end, but both perspectives remind us of our world's fragility. The real takeaway: our actions matter, and who we trust to guide us could decide our fate. Facing the end, mythic or scientific, forces us to ask what truly matters. After all this, who really controls the world? There's no secret committee, no puppet master, just a chaotic system of competing interests. Power is fragmented, governments, corporations, and organizations all check and balance each other. The world isn't run by a who, but by a tangled web of influence, favoring the powerful but controlled by no one. Believing in simple conspiracies is tempting, but it distracts from real, solvable problems. The truth: the system is made of people and institutions that can change. The real power players, tech giants, innovators, rising nations, are out in the open. The biggest myth is that we, the public, have no control. If we're lost in conspiracy, we miss the real decisions shaping our lives. The future will be shaped by those who show up, pay attention, and demand a say. The truth isn't hidden, it's in public records, debates, and data. It's complicated, but it's the only truth that matters. Who controls the world? Maybe, just maybe, it's up to us.